about some of the intermediate, some of the problem with intermediate forms. We're going to specifically look at the supposed evolution of man. Our book title is The Evolution of Man, a Mistaken Belief, pages 154 to 160. A few things in the beginning here. Darwin proposed that mankind evolved from a species of old world monkeys and the descent of man. Darwin wrote two books, The Origin of the Species, which is the book we've been talking about throughout most of this chapter, and then the other one is The Descent of Man. I have heard people say that Darwin never said humans evolved from monkeys. He may not have said it in The Origin of the Species, but he certainly said it in The Descent of Man. No intermediates in the supposed chain of human evolution have ever been found. Again, just like the other intermediates, they found someone, oh, these bones look kind of weird, we're going to call it an intermediate. It's the missing link in human evolution. And then years later, they go, oops, we kind of got it wrong. But unfortunately, time doesn't print those things. Man versus ape. Taxonomically, man is classified in the order of primates. Man is the only species in the family Hominidae. Hominidae. There we go. Man is classified as Homo sapien. This simply means wise man. This is modern man that we're talking about. You and me would fall into this category. Now, one of the things I want to preface a lot this study with is that there are many body shapes as far as humans go. They're all still considered humans. If you look around the world today, we see tall humans, we see short humans, we see naturally skinny humans, we see much bigger humans. There's an entire series, I think it's on Discovery Channel, that is trying to look for giants, just abnormally large humans. And yes, there have been some modern day giants, over 7 feet tall and such. So, there are just many different body types out there among modern humans. And quite honestly, I think that's one of the things that has gotten mixed up in all this, is that we've kind of forgotten that there are these different body types, these different morphologies, if you will, study of shape. And scientists have found different humans that are dead and fossilized, and they go, it's a missing link because this part of their body is different. When in reality, they're not a missing link. So we will explore some of these things as we go throughout this particular section of the chapter. And some of the similarities between humans and apes, for there are several similarities. At the bottom here, you see a picture that it's called the evolution of man, starts with a monkey, goes up to a human. But yeah, several of the similarities. The eyes are on the front of our faces. A lot of animals in the animal kingdom, their eyes are not on the front of their faces, they are on the sides. Many different types of monkeys and apes, for that matter, and humans, have opposable thumbs. That is, thumbs that can touch each of their other fingers. Now, with some apes, those thumbs are on their hands. Some apes have those types of thumbs on their feet. That's why we put thumbs in quotes there. And then some apes have it on both their hands and feet. Another similarity is shoulder joints that allow a wide range of motion. If you were to take your arm, swing it around, you can do almost a complete circle without having to stick your arm out very far. This is not common in the animal kingdom. Another similarity, flattened fingernails and toenails. We don't have talons, we don't have claws. Our fingernails and toenails are flattened. Now, that's not unique to humans and apes. There's just not very many animals that have them. Also, another similarity is 3 types of teeth. We do have similar teeth. However, there are some differences even among those, and that's addressing pretty much all of these. We're going to flip to the next one, and we're going to see the differences between humans and apes. One, humans have a unique upright posture for standing and walking. This posture requires particular muscular and skeletal structures. Humans have them, apes do not. But Mr. Smith, I've seen videos, or I've been to the zoo, and I've seen monkeys walking on their hind legs. Upright. Well, yes, they can do it for a short period of time. It is not the most comfortable position for them. If you continue watching those animals, they will eventually drop to all fours using knuckle walking on their front hands. The second one, Humans have a larger cranial capacity. The smallest adult cranial capacity is still larger than the largest cranial capacity of apes. So even though some ape heads look bigger, they do not have a larger cranial capacity. And what that cranial capacity is the area in the skull that holds the brain, really. And even within humans, there is variation in that, but our smallest one is still bigger than the ape's largest one. Another one is arm length. Apes have a longer arm length proportionate to their body than humans do. Most humans, our hands kind of end just below our waist in our upper leg area. Apes and monkeys will often, there are many species that have hands that go all the way down to their knees. The other one is teeth size, shape, and arrangement. Even though we have 3 different types of teeth, the size of those teeth, the actual shape of them, and the arrangement of those teeth are all different between apes and humans. There's actually a picture in your book on page 155 specifically talking about the teeth size, shape, and arrangement. Also, the jawbone size and shape. Humans are more rounded, more arch shaped. Apes tend to have a squarer jaw, more rectangular in shape. The facial angle, and this is why I chose this particular picture. It shows an actor from the movie, I can't remember if it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes or the one after that. But it shows an actor portraying a monkey, a chimpanzee, I believe, to be exact, type of ape. And you can see a very big difference in their facial angles. Now, the actor has all those little dots on his face, and that's for computer enhancement and to make the image. But if you just compare the 2 pictures, the human's face is much flatter. It's not exactly, but it's pretty close to a 90 degree. It's just pretty much flat. Whereas from his jaw to his eyebrows. Whereas the ape's face, you can see his jaw sticks out a little bit more, or quite a bit more actually, and his face forms much more of an angle between his jaw and his eyebrows up to the top of his head. So, there is a difference in simply the morphology, the shape between a human's face and an ape's face. So these are some of those differences. There are similarities, but there are some pretty big differences to get over here. Some questionable intermediates. These are this list of animals that we're going to go through here are usually smaller than humans in the 3 to 4 foot range. And the first one here is Ramapithecus. I think I even spelled that wrong. I think that should be T-H-E. Yep. Should be Ramapithecus. It literally means Rama's ape. That's found on page 156 here. We have a couple pictures there. It is now discarded as an intermediate. It's one of those ones when they first found it, oh, it's an unusual looking ape. And so it must be a human ancestor. And then several years down the road, as they studied it, they realized that it's actually not an intermediate. It was assumed to be a human ancestor because of similarities in the teeth. And that's pretty much the only reason. It was assumed to walk upright, even though no fossils of hip or leg bones were found. One of the questions I encourage people to ask when they hear about a missing link is, it's actually a series of questions, but it starts with, how do we know it's a missing link? Well, the teeth are similar and we think it walked upright. Okay, well, teeth similarity, that's pretty easy. Why do we think the teeth are similar? Well, here, look at this picture. Okay, well, let's see why you think that. Now, why do we think that it walks upright? Small problem with Rama's ape here. They didn't have any hip or leg bones. Those joints and bones are key to figuring out if an animal actually walked upright. Even though there might be features about the spinal cord, even about the neck, that could indicate a possible upright stature. But those hip and leg bones are really key because there are animals that do not walk upright that have some of those similar features in the spine and the neck. But their hips are distinctly different, at least as far as the way they are joined. Their hips are different. So even though there were no fossils of hip or leg bones found, they said it walks upright. And people who asked why got a very long-winded explanation that was not meant to enlighten them. In 1979, a complete skeleton was discovered, and lo and behold, they found that it was similar to modern orangutans, which means it's not a human ancestor. even by evolutionary standards. And on the side there, you kind of have a picture of what Rama's ape was supposedly looking like. The next one is actually a group of apes, and I'm just going to start with, and they're called Australopithecines. This means southern ape, Australia being a Latin word for southern. The Pithecines, I think we figured out now, means ape. So this is southern ape, and it's actually a group of apes. The first one, and I've abbreviated A. afarensis. A stands for Australopithecine, and then afarensis. It is the most well-known. It is nicknamed Lucy. It is another one where there's just a lot of fragments. It is not a complete skeleton. A. afarensis adults were somewhere between 3.5 to 5 feet tall. Relatively small brains, so their brain capacity, their cranial capacity was less than humans. Although evolutionists have said a great deal about the possible upright posture, it is still a matter of debate. Not enough of the skeleton has been discovered to really say that it absolutely walks upright. Now, in this case, they do have at least a hip bone and a leg bone that they are looking at, but again, there are several factors that go into this, and there are some factors that are apparently missing that are allowing for this debate. Some evolutionists teach that A. afarensis evolved into another one called Australopithecus africanus. There we go, yep. A. africanus is a supposed descendant of A. afarensis. One of the more famous ones of these was nicknamed the Tongue Child. It was discovered in 1924. The skull was discovered in 1924. Although A. africanus show a few characteristics similar to humans, A. africanus can be considered a type of extinct ape or chimpanzee, one of the smaller types of apes. Another one, A. anamensis, thought to be older than A. afarensis. So we're going backwards, kind of backwards in time. A. afarensis is in the middle. A. africanus might be one of its descendants. A. anamensis goes even further back before A. africanus, or before A. afarensis, excuse me. Based on, let's see, was unearthed in Kenya. Based on the idea that it may have walked on 2 feet, it was immediately considered one of man's oldest ancestors. However, a closer look at the bone fragments, specifically of the jaw and leg bones, reveals that A. anamensis can most likely be dismissed as another extinct ape. There are a lot of other ones that have fallen into the Australopithecus classification, and pretty much all of them have been discarded as a type of ape. Now, a couple of them have been mistakes. We'll talk about that another time. But, yeah, they've been, after further study, they realized, this is more like a chimpanzee or an extinct type of ape than it is human-like at all. Yeah, most likely these are extinct apes. And I have some pictures here. The one on the left over here is a picture of the fossil remains of Lucy. And I believe this skull, if I remember which one I got here, that is of the Tongue Child, A. africanus. That skull there. And notice, one thing I want you to notice, a lot of times when they say that they recovered the skull, what they mean is they recovered fragments of the skull. If you look at both Lucy and the Tongue Child here, you can see that they don't have a complete skull to go on. They have only these fragments. This is actually its jaw. This V one here is its jaw. These small pieces up here are parts of its skull. On Tongue Child here, you see these nice smooth parts that look like plastic, really. Those are ones that we've had to put in. These more rugged ones are the actual molds of the fossils that were found. So even with Tongue Child, they did not have a complete skull. They had a more complete skull than Lucy, but still, it was incomplete. The next group of, and these ones tend to be more man-like, Homo habilis, which simply means the handyman. It was originally classified as a man. When they first found it, they went, ooh, hey, look, we found a man. And then evolution got involved in the case. Many scientists argue that it should be classified as an Australopithecine, so a type of one of those apes. More complete skeletons, which I misspelled there, sorry, show it is not human-like at all. It is actually an extinct ape. The next one, Homo erectus, which means upright man. It got nicknamed Java Man because it was discovered on the island of Java in the Philippines. the East Indies. So Java Man was the first one found. Java Man was discovered alongside of modern human remains. This was kept quiet for as long as they could because they wanted Java Man to be a human ancestor. If it's found alongside modern human remains, then it cannot possibly be an ancestor. The skull and leg of Java Man may not even be from the same organism. The leg, I believe, was found something like 50 feet away from the skull. So to assume that they're the same kind, from the same organism, is a bit of a stretch. Peking Man, also part of Homo erectus category here. Unfortunately, it was lost during World War II, so we really don't know. The science around it was rather shoddy. Notes at the time were pretty incomplete, not very detailed at all. Also, the casts that they made were poorly done. So many people think, many species of Homo erectus are 100% human. That's where I was trying to go there. So some of the ones that have been thrown into the Homo erectus camp, which were thought to be ancestors, were eventually decided to be 100% modern man or fully human, not somewhere in between. Another famous one, Neanderthal Man, named after the Neanderthal Valley, where it was discovered. Originally categorized as a human ancestor, it was later discovered to be 100% human. One of the things that caused it to really be misclassified was that this group of people had a vitamin D deficiency called rickets, which deforms bones, giving them an odd appearance, which led some paleontologists to put them as an ancestor to human. But further study realized that it was this vitamin D deficiency, not something else. So they are fully human. Cro-Magnon Man, again, believe it's named after the cave in France where it was found. Originally categorized as a human ancestor, now recognized as a modern human. So that was another one that after further study, they said, oops, this is actually a human. Let's see. Yeah, it's classified as Homo sapiens sapiens, the same category as modern man. So these are some of the ones that have been thrown out there by evolutionists as intermediates for the human ancestor. And further study have really realized they are not an intermediate category. They are either fully ape or fully human. Now, I said a few of them were actually fake. Again, we'll talk about that in class probably the day after this video. Now, if those are all fake or the wrong way, what about the true origin of man? Well, here's what the fossil record says, what we know from the fossil record. The fossil record makes it apparent that mankind appeared suddenly upon the earth and that man has always been man. We do not see any half-man things. God's account of how man was made is clear, concise, and complete. If you read through Genesis chapter 1, it is very clear what God said, how God says humans were created, even to the part of forming him from the dust of the ground, breathing life into him. There are details there. I think I said this at the beginning of our study of this chapter, but I'll bring it up again here. People have often said, I have actually heard people say, oh, well, God just didn't talk about evolution in the Bible because, well, Adam and Eve wouldn't have understood it. They were babies, basically. Even though physically they weren't, mentally they were babies. God just didn't describe it to them. And my response to that is, we describe evolution to 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds today in the form of TV shows, even in books, in the stories they are told. Dinosaur Train, Sesame Street, even Wild Kratts. Even though Wild Kratts is kind of aimed at a little bit older, but those shows have some evolutionary ideas in them, and they are certainly being taught to little kids, to babies. So if humans can do it, teach babies about evolution, then certainly God could have, if that was his intent. Creation really is the only reasonable belief. Evolution fails as a hypothesis because of the lack of intermediates. Darwin said, in the future, as people study paleontology, they will find these intermediate forms. Now, Darwin didn't have the idea of mutations at that time, but he had this idea of changes, small changes. He just didn't know what the changes would be made from. So, over 150 years later, several million fossils unearthed, and we have yet to find any intermediates. In the light of the evidence, special creation is the only reasonable explanation for the origin of life. It's the only theory that does not have problems with what we find in nature. We find layers of rock in nature. Okay, that's easily explained by a massive worldwide flood, which the Bible tells us about. We see dinosaurs in the fossil record. No problem there. Dinosaurs could have lived before the flood and potentially even after. That doesn't cause any problems for creation at all. Pretty much everything they try and throw at us as a problem isn't one. It was interesting to me in the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate that Bill Nye kept wanting a predictive quality from creationists, and by the same comparison, evolution fails. Darwin made a prediction 150 years ago: we will find more intermediate species. Hasn't happened. So, it's the only reasonable way to go. And that's why many scientists are abandoning Darwinian evolution. They're going towards either special creation in some cases. Dr. Job Martin is a man, he wrote a book, The Evolution of a Creationist, how he went from an evolutionist and became a creationist over the span of, I think, if I remember right, about 5 years. Other scientists are going towards intelligent design. They don't necessarily want to believe in God, but the evidence they are seeing fits more with a designer than with random happenstance. So, that is where people are going, and the state of evolution today is really, it doesn't hold up. So, your science video question is, what is the other name for Australopithecus afarensis, or A. afarensis? What was the other name that we gave? It was a girl's name for Australopithecus afarensis.